So it's been about a week since the Fight for Sanctuary DLC has dropped. Most of us have already gone through it multiple times to not only grasp the overarching story and its importance to Borderlands 3, but of course to just try and get our hands on all the badass new effervescent equipment the Gearbox has added in along with this DLC, which I gotta say is great. You know, it's nice to see people coming back to a game, especially this old, to not only relive it, but to experience some new missions, some entirely different story locations, some brand new equipment in general. It's a weird mix of deja vu while also playing a brand new game, sort of. It's really weird, but in a good way, you know? Anyways, even though I want to say the majority of us have already played the DLC, I still thought it'd be a good idea to just summarize what the Fight for Sanctuary DLC is all about. Just kind of giving everyone here a simple, easy to understand, straightforward explanation of the grand story, the grand scheme of things. So whether if you forget, or let's say further down the line when Borderlands 3 comes out, you need or want a refresher on the events leading up to that game, then hopefully this will be your go-to guide for that. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. So at the start of the DLC, we see the Crimson Raiders pretty much fighting amongst themselves, stuck on not knowing what to do. They have the vault key, which was obtained after killing the warrior at the end of Borderlands 2. They just don't have the means to get to the other vaults as their current ship, Sanctuary, is falling apart. They also don't have a leader since Handsome Jack killed Roland, leaving the next powerful figure to take over, which would be Lilith, wanting nothing to do with being in charge. It's at this moment that Sanctuary becomes under attack by the soldiers who are a part of the new Pandora army. The game prompts you to take out the soldiers and their dropships, which after doing so would activate a cutscene that gives us a first look at the Paradise Gas. More on that later. Quickly getting outgunned and outmaneuvered, the Raiders start to fall back into the headquarters to prevent the vault key from being captured. Unfortunately, however, the new Pandoran soldiers break through before an offensive position can even be assumed. This results in Lilith teleporting as many people off of Sanctuary as she can to avoid them being killed or mutated by the gas.
Tell me where to point this sumbitch! Come on!
While teleporting everyone off of Sanctuary, Lilith actually ended up spreading everyone out, which is how you ended up in the back burner, a desolate area overrun by infected enemies. The game prompts you to clear all of these enemies out. Once you do so, you're going to be introduced to Vaughn, who's an ex-Hyperion accountant who, once the Helios station crashed on Pandora, was named leader of Hyperion, or bandit leader of the remaining Hyperion employees who survived the Helios crash. Immediately after being introduced to him, he requires you to turn on his quote-unquote firewall, during which he explains that Hector and his new Pandora army took over the wreckage of Helios, killing some of the Hyperion survivors and mutating the rest with this Paradise Gas.
We tried fighting off Hector's new Pandora soldiers, but we were no match for him. I probably should have armed my clan with more than presentation-grade Hyperion laser pointers. Lesson learned, I guess.
After turning on the firewall, officially clearing out the back burner, Lilith appears with Ellie, who then gets into contact with Tannis to create an antidote for the gas. Tannis in return asks for you to collect some plant and brain samples so she can whip up an antidote to the Paradise Gas. It's during this mission where we're collecting these samples that we learn that the gas mutates benign spores that are actually already in Pandora's atmosphere. Mutated plants become bloated and excrete nauseous spores, while when applied to humans, it mutates the spores that are already present in the lungs, then spreads to the nervous system, leaving the infected subject almost completely mindless. It's here that Tannis also admits to being unable to create an antidote herself, but she has traced the gas back to a scientist by the name of Cassius who has engineered it. Vaughn coincidentally says he knows Cassius, and after contacting him, you're sent to the old doll mining facility as it leads up to Cassius's laboratory. On the way to the laboratory, Mordecai ends up getting infected by the mutated enemies, which makes creating an antidote even more crucial.
Those pendejos crop-dusted me.
Damn it! Mordecai's infected! This is my fault. We need that antidote, now!
Yep, that's pretty much what I just said. Now with Mordecai infected and no way to get through the mining door leading up to Cash's laboratory as Hector has sealed it shut, the idea of using Helios' moonshot cannon to blast open the door is brought up. It's here where you're sent through the burrows up to the crash of Helios to take over the moonshot. On the way there, Cassius says that Hector is using the vault key to mass produce his Paradise Gas so it can blanket Pandora, essentially killing everyone and everything in the process except he and his men. Once inside of Helios, you are faced with the remainder of Vaughn's mutated men, new Pandoran soldiers, and motor bots that Hector has hacked to further fortify his position on Helios. After running through 2 floors of enemies, you're met with Tiny Tina and Lilith in the loading bay of Helios, and Tina here has you go searching for explosives and stabilizer fins for this shot. You also have to fight a Uranus bot in the process. You know, because it's Borderlands. Now with the doll door blasted open, the way to Cassius' laboratory is clear, but before you meet up with Cassius, he asks of you to take him a sample of infected blood, which in this case is provided by Mordecai. With Mordecai's infected blood, it's now time to meet up with Cassius to create an antidote. We begin to head to the old doll mining facility where we learn a few things about the origins of Hector and the new Pandora army. Now, I don't want to waste too much time on it, at least not in this video, as we still got a little bit more ground to cover. So to wrap it up, Dole sent Hector and his men, who are now part of the new Pandora, to mine down in the shaft. There was a cave-in, which in a side mission we learned wasn't an accident, and instead of Dole rescuing Hector and his men, they just abandoned them. I'm actually going to play this small clip, which I think says a lot in just a few words.
Scarab 191 lost a lot of good men after Dole left us down there to die. That's when I realized, if Pandora was going to become our paradise, we were going to have to make it ourselves. You won't take that from me.
After this, we take an elevator up and are met with a handful of new Pandoran soldiers. Once we clear them out, we are dropped into a little room where we hear Hector threaten Cassius for helping us and turns the gas on inside the entire Mount Scarab Research Center.
Cassius, you skag suckling traitor. You could have had a spot in paradise. But there's no room for cowards in the new Pandora. Let's see how long you can hold your breath.
Coincidentally, there is a valve in the same room as us that clears the room below of any deadly spores, which allows us to drop down and clear the room of any infected and new Pandora enemies. From here, we start to make our way up to Cassius' laboratory, clearing out another room or two of paradise gas and of course enemies. Finally, we make our way into Cassius' lab. We place Mordecai's infected blood in the scanner, only to find out the blood has been compromised by the decontamination process. We need another sample of infected blood. This is where Cassius reveals himself to also be infected and asks of us to kill him so you can take his infected blood to not only create an antidote but an immunity to the deadly spores.
What a strike! Well done, Vault Hunter.
With Cassius dead, Mordecai being treated, and us immune to the spores contaminating Sanctuary, the time to take Sanctuary back is now. We start to make our way up from beneath Sanctuary, slowly fighting to make it topside. But first, we must clear Sanctuary's engines of vines that have wrapped themselves around them. Once we have done that and are at the top of Sanctuary, we see the new state of the city with vines, spores, and Pandoran soldiers everywhere. After fighting your way from Marcus's shop through Moxie's bar, we're dropped into the center of Sanctuary itself for the final showdown with Hector. Now, after a pretty lengthy battle, depending on how strong you are, Hector finally relents and dies, or so you think. As the vault key is lodged in his chest, when you go to reach for it, Hector springs back to life, continuing to absorb the vault key into his chest and trying to spread the gas in one final attempt to create his paradise. Lilith, on the other hand, has him contained, preventing the gas from escaping, where she asks you to bring her the large stash of iridium that's located in the city, which turns out to be Crazy Earl's stash. Once you hand Lilith all of this iridium, a cutscene initiates.
You finally stood your ground, Firehawk. But it's too late.
I'm not leaving here without that map!
You Vault Hunters are so blind. I've seen the true purpose of the map. It leads to power you can't possibly imagine.
What the hell?
Sanctuary is part of me now. The Vault map is part of me. You can't destroy me without losing them both. Your dream dies with me. What? What do you think you're doing?
Making the call.
No!
Lilith ends up killing Hector, but in the process sacrifices Sanctuary and the whereabouts of where the vault key is or ends up being after Sanctuary explodes. It's during this same cutscene that Lilith gives a nice little inspirational speech on how they need to rebuild the Crimson Raiders and look beyond Pandora. You know, find a new ship, find a new Sanctuary, and try to open the remainder of the vaults with or without the vault key. In the meantime, she says that she's gonna stay on Pandora until she finds the vault key that's still somewhere out in the wilderness. But there you guys have it. a quick crash course rundown of the Fight for Sanctuary DLC. I didn't want to go too in-depth on any one thing. There's a lot of little extra tidbits we can go a little bit more in-depth on, but again, I just want to cover the grand overall arching story. So hopefully it did help you guys out. It did help give a quick reminder, better understanding of everything that's going on. If there's anything else you guys want to add to it, feel free, by all means. You're more than welcome to do so, but I'm gonna shut the hell up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it and it did help you guys out. But until next time, my friends, I will see you all later.
So, what now?
Up there, Hector showed me the map. I saw the vaults. Connected somehow, part of something bigger. I don't know what it means. Look, we may have lost the map, but we never needed it before. We have to find the vaults before they fall into the wrong hands. We have got to keep searching. And that means leaving Pandora. But I can't go with you. Not yet. Someone has to rebuild the Raiders. We need new blood. New badasses if we're gonna be ready for the next fight. Find the vaults. No matter how far it takes you, no matter what happens, you will always be Crimson Raiders! Yeah!